The engine room of the MV Seraphina was a thunderous, oily sauna. Heat shimmered off the massive diesel blocks, and the smell of lubricating oil and sea salt hung thick in the air. Elias, the mechanic, was crouched by a bilge pump, wiping his hands slowly on a rag that was already black with grime. He looked his age mid-60s, with a stooped back, thick glasses perched low on his nose, and faded blue overalls. He was focused on the rhythmic pulse of the machinery, listening to the deep, complex symphony of steel and power. Every sound in this metal cathedral was a data point to Elias, a living diagnostic readout for the entire ship. He wasn't merely wiping his hands, he was conducting a tactile inspection of the bilge discharge line. A passenger named Finn slipped into the engine room, moving with an unwarranted confidence that immediately drew Elias's attention. Access was strictly forbidden to passengers, necessitating a specific security clearance or an elaborate deception. Finn was young, dressed in expensive outdoor gear that looked brand new and utterly out of place in this industrial space. He carried a large custom-welded aluminum equipment case, its surface unnaturally smooth and clearly designed for secrecy. "Hey, old-timer," Finn said, barely glancing at Elias, his tone dismissive and impatient. "Just delivering some specialized tools to a friend on the crew. Don't mind me, just passing through." His lie was immediate and thin. Crew members accessed equipment via the secured supply bay, not through the engine room. Finn headed toward a narrow crawlspace behind the auxiliary generator, a space known only to experienced crew. This recess was rarely used, making it an ideal, secluded spot for temporary, illicit storage. He fumbled with the complex locks on his case, trying to pry it open without making too much noise against the roar of the main engine. The fumbling suggested unfamiliarity with the case, proving he was a courier, not the owner of the contents. "That's a heavy case for tools," Elias observed, his voice calm but clearly audible over the intense din. Elias had already estimated the mass of the case based on the effort Finn exerted to carry it and its displacement. Finn let out a short, dismissive laugh, masking a sudden, sharp spike of annoyance and fear. "It's specialty stuff, Gramps. Precision calibrators for the navigation systems. They're naturally heavy. Go back to oiling your gaskets. This is not your department, and it certainly is above your pay grade." He finally got the case open, revealing several bundles wrapped tightly in black plastic and duct tape. The packages were far too long and uniformly shaped to be precision calibrators of any standard type. They looked suspiciously and damningly like disassembled automatic rifles. Military-grade ordnance. Finn began shoving the long cylindrical bundles hastily into the dark, dusty recess behind the generator. They looked like 3 disassembled AR platforms and spare magazines. Based on the dimensions, Elias corrected him softly, still watching. Elias knew the precise length and breakdown silhouette of that specific model of assault rifle instantly. Finn froze, the color draining from his face. He turned slowly, his young eyes narrowed with confusion and alarm. "You don't know what you're looking at, old man. Get out of here before you start having unfortunate accidents." The threat was implicit, clumsy, and terrifyingly real in the enclosed, unforgiving metal space. Elias sighed, the sound lost in the engine's roar. He began rising slowly to his full, impressive height. His back straightened completely, losing all the mid-60s stoop that was part of his disguise. He walked with purpose to the main propulsion console, resting his hand casually on the vibration dampener housing. "You've been here maybe 4 minutes and 42 seconds, Elias said, calculating the precise time. He looked directly at Finn, his eyes magnified by his glasses, but now sharp and focused. "You stored approximately 40 kilograms of predominantly ferrous metal in the aft starboard corner of the ship. This location is directly outside the main buoyancy chambers, a structural point of minimal impact." Finn gaped at him, stammering in astonishment. "What the hell did you just say? How could you know that?" "The Seraphina is 1,400 gross tons," Elias explained patiently, tapping the control console's steel casing. "She has 2 major inherent flaws in her naval architecture and manufacturing design. 1. A slight, persistent, annoying cavitation in the port propeller blades at exactly 750 rpm. 2. An almost imperceptible, permanent longitudinal list to port when running at 3/4 speed." Elias smiled, a slight, knowing curve of his lips that was entirely out of place on a humble ferry mechanic. "When you added 40 kilograms of dense, metallic cargo weight exceeding the maximum allowed for passenger baggage to the starboard side, you inadvertently corrected the ship's natural list just slightly. The correction was precisely 0.007 degrees, perfectly counterbalancing the structural flaw. It's impossible to detect with the naked eye, even for the bridge officers on watch duty, but it changed the harmonic frequency transmitted through the deck plating just enough. It altered the resonance of the forward pump manifold by less than 2 Hz, a tiny, telltale sign." Finn stammered, his mind racing to process the sheer technical impossibility of the claim. You heard 40 kilos of steel just by the sound. The sound of the engine, right here. No, Elias corrected him gently, delivering the final, crushing piece of information. I detected the correction in the ship's balance by monitoring the vibration dampener's output signature. The shift in resonant frequency confirmed a precise weight displacement occurred at this moment. The density of the new cargo confirmed its ferrous and metallic composition, characteristic of weapons, and the calculated weight allowed me to pinpoint the specific pressure wave signature your aluminum case emitted when it settled on the frame. Elias reached up, not for a wrench or a hammer, but for a worn, leather-bound wallet tucked into a high, concealed pocket. He pulled out an identification card. It was not a ferry mechanic license, but a heavy, old-style military ID. The card bore the insignia and ribbons of a highly decorated, long-retired specialist engineer. I spent 30 years in the Naval Engineering Corps. Son, not working on tubs like this one. I was the chief propulsion engineer on 3 nuclear-attack submarines, managing the core reactors. Elias tapped the engine console again, the sound now echoing with immense, hidden authority. On a submarine, every fluctuation, every rattle, every single millimeter of trim matters for survival. We used hydroacoustics and resonant frequency analysis to detect changes in weight displacement down to the gram. We could identify metal alloys at a distance, ensuring the hull never compromised its integrity at crushing depths. He pointed, not with a greasy finger, but with the corner of his official military ID, at the concealed weapons. These ferry engines make noise, deafening noise. But my mind is calibrated to listen through it all. But that case of contraband you just stowed. To my ear, it was the loudest, clearest noise on the entire ship. It was the unmistakable sound of a serious, complex federal offense being committed right here. Elias walked slowly, deliberately, to the engine room door, his new height dominating the space. He pressed the emergency crew communications button, which instantly overrode the ship's internal address system. "This is Elias. Engine room. Immediate priority transmission," he announced, clearly over the loudspeaker. His voice boomed through the bridge, the mess hall, and the passenger decks, resonating with a sudden, unquestioned command. "I have secured the suspect and the contraband cargo on the aft-to-starboard frame. Behind the auxiliary generator, he's hidden approximately 4 long rifles and accessories, likely military-grade automatic weapons. Inform the Coast Guard liaison officer immediately that the arrest is confirmed and contained. We are holding present position, maintaining course and speed until they arrive to dock alongside." The crew, hearing the unexpected, commanding voice, would be reacting instantly to the crisis. He turned back to the stunned, defeated smuggler, who stood motionless, his world collapsing around him. "Now, I'm just a humble ferry mechanic, retired and looking for quiet work. Or so I was supposed to be, but I know precisely when a ship's balance is off, or, in this singular case, when it is suddenly perfectly corrected. And right now, this boat is balanced perfectly to take you straight to port security. Finn, enjoy the ride."